Welcome. My name is Joni Wilson. I am the Assistant Director for Multicultural Student Affairs at Texas State University. And I'm here with Devon Wilson today.
Hello.
And Devon used to be a student here at Texas State. Welcome.
Thank you
and
for having
welcome
me.
back, I should say.
Right. Thank you for having me back.
Right now, we're going to look at a little clip of
Okay.
you being filmed with the first generation student video. And after that, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay, perfect.
My mother always said, you need to start now. We're going to start now looking for a college for you to go to because we want to get you up and running. So it kind of began as I entered high school and we took college trips and we went and visited different places, and I started developing an interest in college. Mm-hmm. My mother was the one that pushed me.
So Devon, that was almost 10 years ago.
I know, I can't believe it.
And so could you tell me a little bit about how you felt when you saw that video?
Well, for one, it's shocking to see yourself, to look back at yourself and the person that you are, who you used to be, mind you, so many years ago. Everything physically to the way that I spoke and the things that I was saying, and it's shocking. Like, wow, I remember that day. I remember being here, and I remember shooting and feeling the energy in the room and everybody talking about their experiences coming from our respective families and cultures and backgrounds. It's just amazing to go back and visit that day.
So tell me, what was your major when you were in school here?
Yes, when I was in school here, I was pursuing my Bachelor of Fine Arts in the musical theater department. Of course, I was doing a lot of shows and plays on campus. I was minoring in sociology, and my emphasis, which is something I still take part in today, is working with juvenile youth and at-risk youth. So that was something that I was studying while I was here and that I loved very much.
Good. So after you finished here at Texas State, did you go back home, or what did you do, or did you finish?
Yes, ma'am. Those are great questions.
Yes.
After I left Texas State, I did go back home, and I did commute back and forth here from San Antonio, Texas, to the university. I am about between 27 hours short of my degree. And I do plan on finishing that. There were some things that transpired, actually, that I'll be more than happy to discuss or talk about here in the interview, that did keep me at home for the time being, but it still hasn't knocked me down. I'm still very successful. I've had some amazing jobs, and I currently, of course, have my own band, and I'm working on my first album. So I'm very excited about some of the things that have happened since I've left Texas State.
So could you tell me a little bit about those challenges that stopped you from finishing?
Absolutely. There was a tragedy that I experienced right around the end of, right before I left to go back home. I lost a very, very close friend of mine. And at the time, I'd never experienced anything of that nature. I'd never experienced a loss. And I think it really took a damper on my motivation and on my drive just a little bit. I didn't lose my ambition, but I did lose some focus. As you know, I was very, very active here on campus. I was in several organizations. I was holding offices in most of those. And I found myself burying myself in activities to keep myself busy. And so much so, I was having so many meetings and going to so many functions that I was overwhelmed. Right. And so I guess what a lot of people consider a burnout is what I experienced. I experienced a time when I just kind of shut down. And I wanted to go home. I didn't want to be here. Everything I worked so hard for, it felt like it was slipping away, but it hasn't. I still have that drive and that ambition inside of me. And in fact, I'm looking to go back to school next year and finish and go all the way through to my master's. So and just speaking just very candidly and very real about what I experienced, I hope can help students that were in the same situation.
So tell me, as far as career-wise, what have you been doing?
Absolutely. Since I've left Texas State University, I've been working in several capacities, primarily in insurance. I actually love insurance. And I have been working actually as a Medicare representative or agent for quite some time. I love working with people and working with our seniors and working with persons with disabilities or anyone else who is on Medicare. I love working with. So I have experience in that field, the fields of insurance. I've also been doing a lot of shows and performing in my community. And of course, I have my band, Dev Soul, which is an R&B old school band, and we play for our community ages 8 to 88, I like to say, for anybody who loves music. And I really just kept going. I've kept busy and kept going. Like I said, insurance is something that I really love. And my music and the entertainment portion of my life is always going to be there. And that's what I was studying while I was here.
Right.
So I never want to lose the chops, as they say. I never want to lose those things. And working in my community, putting on events for young girls, and also working with troubled youths and displaced youth, that's also something very near to me, near and dear to me.
So it seems like some of your passion has been a part of what your career is about.
Absolutely.
So could you tell me a little bit more about your singing career? 'Cause I'm interested in that.
Of course. I was, of course, like I said, I've always been into acting. I did my first professional show in 4th grade. And I've always been into performing and singing and in choirs and such. When I got here to Texas State and I started learning classical trainings and classical learning, Shakespeare, really delving into those types of things, Fosse and Stanislavski, and learning all these different methods, it really ignited a flame inside of me. And when I got back home after my burnout, and I was working and doing various things in my community, I really missed it. I really missed singing and being involved. So I auditioned for some shows, and I began singing background for another local band in San Antonio. Once that band broke up, I decided, well, I don't want to stop here. I've always been very ambitious.
Yes.
And I always wanted to keep moving. I don't sit still for very long. And I decided to start my own band. So I called up a friend. He called up some other musicians. We had our first show, and that was 5.5 years ago. My band will be 6 years old in November.
Wow, that's great. So could you tell me, you were talking about your insurance and working in insurance,
Right.
and so did not having a degree kind of challenge you on that job?
Oh, that's a great question in that field. Yes, ma'am, it did. Yes and no. And I will tell you in what ways. Most of the jobs, and I would say most of the jobs that I've had since I've left Texas State were insurance, various arenas of insurance, whether it were homeowners or Medicare, medical, life insurance, various types of areas there. Now they took into accountability my college. They took my hours, and it was very helpful for me because they said, okay, you may not have finished, you don't have the actual paperwork, but we can see here that you studied, that you had some higher learning. We're going to go ahead and accept you in this role, in this position. I was able to work with others. I was able to train sometimes nurses and sit and give seminars and speak without my degree. It actually has pushed me forward in several instances. Now the pros and the cons to that would be that I could not excel inside the company.
Right.
So now I was excelling within my position. I was doing wonderful things. I was doing things that my other teammates weren't even doing. But as far as wanting to be a supervisor or manager or working on a board or any of those collaborative type efforts, it did stifle me a bit there.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about your family and tell me how your family feels about, you going to school, because you were the first generations.
Right. Now, my family has always been very supportive, and as I stated in the first video, my mother was always there to push me. She's been pushing me since I could walk. She's always been pushing me to be an avid reader, to be learned, to be educated, and to advance myself. And she always wanted me to go far in education. And yes, it was a little shocking to my family and my community when I came home.
Right.
It really was. But no one really understood how I was feeling and what I was going through. Right. And don't get me wrong, I love my university. I love my school. I love working. And I love participating in all of the wonderful activities. But when you go through what people call a burnout, or you feel like you're just stuck in a certain spot, it's hard. So my family was there to support me, and even my Aunt Patricia, whom I call Patsy, told me, you know, everyone has their time. And for whatever reason, if you weren't ready at that point, maybe you'll be ready now. It doesn't matter how old you are. There is no time limit on teaching yourself, on bettering yourself. So whenever you're ready to go back to school, you're ready to give it your all again, then that will be that time. And we will be here to throw you the biggest dinner, the biggest, you know, graduation celebration there is. But all in all, they are very, very supportive of me and what I'm doing. They all do want to see me graduate. I will say that everybody does. It's this huge umbrella over my head. Everybody is waiting for me to finish. So, and I definitely don't want to let myself or anyone else down.
So it seems like you had a lot of support with your family.
Yes, ma'am.
So tell me, what advice would you give students who are first generation, who are at Texas State right now, and may not have that support? And what advice would you give them being at Texas State?
Absolutely. When I was at Texas State University, I had some amazing mentors and advisors, of course, such as yourself. And I leaned on you guys. And my advice to students who are going through this, who may not have the support at home, is to lean on your teachers and the mentors and advisors. Maybe you don't know them. Maybe you don't know what they do. And sometimes, you know, when you're looking at the staff and the faculty, they can seem a bit scary. You know, you're afraid. Because I was afraid at first to hold conversations or to stop you in the hallway or make an appointment to come talk to you. But those were some of the best decisions I ever made. And because of you and faculty like you, I've never lost my drive and my ambition. And I'm actually inspired by this whole project, by Dr. Naheda, by you. Y'all bringing me back. You don't realize what it's done for me. It's really, really inspired me to move forward. It was like a sign. So if you're feeling like you have no support, you have no family, no one really understands you wanting to educate yourself or being away at school, because let's be real, some families don't.
Right.
Some parents don't. They didn't go, so they don't know what it's like to be away and to have friends. And how can you be away from your family? And we need you here, especially coming from African American or Hispanic culture or different cultures. We need you at home. We need you working.
Right.
You know, you're leaving us. The best thing to do is to just explain, I'm just trying to better myself and get an education so I can make life better for everybody. You know, lean and depend on your advisors. Use them, talk to them. Come talk to Miss Joni. They can come talk to you, is that right?
Yes, of course.
Come talk to you. Talk to Dr. Naheda. Utilize the counseling center. Utilize your teachers. That's what they're there for. And you have to take that first step. No one is going to know what you're going through. And that's why I'm so happy that you called me about this project, that y'all were doing a follow-up, because it really, really did touch me in a very profound way.
Great. So I have one more question for you.
Okay.
Could you tell me what type of skills that you acquired here that helped you in your professional career or on the job?
Absolutely. You know, I boast about this. One of the things that I like to tell everyone, you know, I'm very active, like I said, in my community. I've put on various functions, spearheaded galas, banquets, conferences, community service projects and events in my city. And one thing people always tell me, oh my gosh, the event was very well organized. Your proposal or your grant was very well written. Your resume was very nice. And I learned all of those skills from my mentors and advisors here at Texas State. Everything I've ever learned about being a professional woman, and about setting an example, and about going out and asking for help or asking for funding. Any of those little things, those are things I didn't learn in class.
Right.
I didn't take business classes.
Right.
I didn't take those types of courses. So being under your wing and others like you here at the university, it really, really helped me. And it has played a major part in my success, both as a professional and as an adult woman, looking to finish and get her degrees. I put an S on the end of that.
I like that.
And even in my music and entertainment, looking over contracts, those little things that y'all went over with us in those meetings that when we were ready to go and we didn't want to sit there and listen. But all of those things, even I took an etiquette class here one time, offered at one of the conferences, just learning how to fold my napkin, knowing what fork goes with what. All of those little nuances and things have made me a better person overall.
Wow. Well, I'm so glad that you came to visit with me today.
Yes, ma'am, of
and
course.
I've just enjoyed just having this conversation with you.
Likewise.
And thank you again for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, to Dr. Naheda and the Counseling Center, to everyone here at Texas State, our wonderful president, to everyone. Thank you so much for having me. I'll be happy to come back anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.